we thought if we could do something that could bring back the dire wolf.
13,000 years after the last dire wolf walked the earth, scientists say they've now brought them back.
What if the beast from Game of Thrones wasn't just fantasy?
Nymeria?
On a jaw-dropping episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, Ben Lamm revealed how Colossal Biosciences is using real science to bring back the dire wolf. Yes, the ancient predator that once hunted mammoths. But that's just the beginning. What follows will blow the limits of what you think science can do.
Colossal Biosciences claims to have achieved this milestone, the same company that is trying to resurrect the mammoth, dodo, and Tasmanian tiger.
From lizards found clinging to cliffs to creatures resurrected through DNA, this journey dives into nature's wildest comebacks. These are 15 animals that were brought back from extinction. Number 15. Dire wolf. They called it a predator of legends, heavier than today's gray wolves, with a skull shaped to shatter bone and a bite force built for big game. The dire wolf was the apex predator of the Pleistocene, vanishing over 12,000 years ago along with its icy world. But in 2025, something stirred that changed everything. Not in the wilderness, but in a lab.
Yes, they have slightly genetically modified wolves, maybe.
It all started when Colossal Biosciences, the same company working on woolly mammoths, stunned the world with an announcement on the Joe Rogan Experience episode 2301. CEO Ben Lamm claimed they had brought dire wolves back from extinction, not fossils, but living, breathing pups named Romulus, Remus, and Khaleesi. These weren't just oversized puppies. They weighed 80 pounds at 5 months old and stretched 5.5 feet long. Cloaked in thick white fur and built like Shetland ponies, their unnatural howls were said to be so haunting that they moved Lord of the Rings director Peter Jackson to tears. According to Lamm, it was all made possible using advanced genetic engineering.
It became abundantly clear that we need new tools and technologies for conservation.
DNA was pulled from a 13,000-year-old tooth and a 73,000-year-old skull, allowing scientists to rebuild nearly the full genome. But here's where it gets complicated. Leading researchers like Dr. Nick Rollins argue these animals aren't true dire wolves. Instead, they're gray wolves with about 20 specific gene edits. True de-extinction remains impossible, for now, because ancient DNA simply breaks down too much over time. Critics also raised ethical red flags. Should we bring back predators for show? What about the risks of reintroducing them to fragile ecosystems? Still, whether marvel or monster, these resurrected wolves now roam a 2,000-acre preserve, dining on bison and horse meat, their instincts slowly awakening. They might not be pure relics of the Ice Age, but their presence blurs the line between myth and science, and raises a chilling question. If we can make this happen in a lab, what's next? But while the dire wolf's eerie howl now echoes behind fences, the next creature sings freely from the peaks of New Guinea, an ancient voice scientists never thought they'd hear again. Number 14. New Guinea Singing Dog. For over half a century, the world believed this dog had vanished. Its haunting howl silenced by time, its species lost to the shadows of extinction. But in one of Earth's most remote corners, far above the clouds and deep in the highlands of New Guinea, the wild song of a long-forgotten canine echoed once more. The New Guinea Singing Dog is no ordinary dog. It belongs to one of the oldest canine lineages discovered, genetically distinct from domestic dogs and wolves. Its ancestors likely followed early humans across ancient land bridges tens of thousands of years ago, adapting to life in the rough mountains of New Guinea. By the mid-20th century, it was believed to be extinct in the wild, driven out by habitat destruction, human interference, and interbreeding with village dogs. But then, in 2016, camera traps on the steep slopes of Puncak Jaya, the highest mountain in Oceania, captured something extraordinary. Lean, fox-like figures with curled tails and alert eyes. By 2020, DNA tests confirmed it. At least 15 individuals, including pups, had survived undetected in the wild. Unlike animals revived in labs, these singing dogs never left us. They simply disappeared into the mist. What makes them even more special is their vocalization. Their high-pitched howls blend in harmony, sounding more like a chorus than a canine call. It's a sound that scientists say is unlike any other dog's, both weird and oddly beautiful.
They also whine, they kind of yodel. They don't bark like your typical dog does.
Today, conservationists are racing against time to protect their isolated habitat and prevent further genetic dilution. But for now, the New Guinea Singing Dog lives and sings again. And as their ghostly chorus fades into the mountains, our next rediscovered wonder stares out from the jungle canopy with tiny, wide-eyed, and thought extinct for 80 years. Number 13. Pygmy Tarscier. The world's tiniest primate was thought to be gone forever, erased by time, swallowed by the shadows of Sulawesi's cloud forests. But after more than 8 decades lost to science, the Pygmy Tarscier reappeared like a ghost refusing to fade. No larger than a house mouse, this elusive primate moves like an apparition through the mist-drenched canopy of Indonesia's Lor Lindu National Park. With bat-like ears, needle claws, and eyes so large they seem unreal, the Pygmy Tarscier looks less like an earthly creature and more like a character from a dream.
The tiny tarsier may appear cute and cuddly, but they're really one of the forest's most adept predators.
It was last seen in the 1920s, and for over 80 years, researchers believed it had succumbed to habitat destruction and human expansion. Only bones remained, preserved in museums serving as relics of a species long presumed extinct. Then, in 2000, that silence broke. Indonesian scientists, trekking deep into the highland forests, captured a live Pygmy Tarscier clinging to a mossy branch. It was alive and watching. 8 years later, camera traps confirmed the existence of multiple individuals, proving that this miniature marvel had clung to survival in one of the world's most rugged ecosystems. Unlike lab-engineered revivals or species confined to private sanctuaries, the Pygmy Tarscier survived on its own terms, camouflaged, quiet, and unseen. Its rediscovery wasn't the result of technology or cloning. It was patience, perseverance, and a bit of luck. Yet its future remains perilous. Logging, climate change, and its extremely limited range still cast gloom over its fragile comeback. But as this jungle ghost returns to its perch, the next species waits just beneath the waves as an ancient survivor with a face straight out of prehistory. Number 12. Coellacanth. In 1938, the scientific world was shaken when a creature thought to be extinct for over 66 million years was hauled up from the Indian Ocean, an event now considered one of the greatest zoological discoveries of the 20th century. The Coellacanth, with its blue-gray scales and strangely jointed fins that resemble limbs, had been presumed wiped out alongside the dinosaurs. But this ancient fish hadn't vanished. It had merely gone unnoticed in the deep. This remarkable living fossil first emerged from obscurity when Marjorie Courtenay-Latimer, a South African museum curator, spotted something extraordinary among a local fisherman's catch near East London. Measuring nearly 5 feet long and covered in armor-like scales, the fish bore characteristics unlike anything modern science had ever catalogued.
Stumbled upon those 3 coelacanths, and that was...
Well, you said there were coelacanths.
Yes.
Its lobed, muscled fins moved in a peculiar, almost robotic rhythm, traits more aligned with early 4-limbed vertebrates than with any known modern fish. For decades, scientists had only fossilized clues of the Coellacanth, believing it perished during the mass extinction that ended the Cretaceous period. Instead, it had simply retreated to the twilight zone of the ocean, swimming at depths of 100 to 500 meters beyond the reach of conventional nets. Additional populations were later discovered in the Comoros Islands and off Indonesia's Sulawesi coast, confirming the species was more widespread and more resilient than anyone imagined. Yet, even this survivor faces modern threats like deep-sea trawling and habitat disruption that jeopardize its fragile existence. Number 11. Bermuda Petrel.
It's probably the biggest single success we've had since the rediscovery of the species.
In one of the world's most uplifting conservation stories ever told, the ghostly cries of the Bermuda petrel were thought lost to time. and for over 3 centuries, extinguished by colonization, invasive predators, and vanishing habitats. But in 1951, the air over Castle Harbor trembled once more with a sound few believed they would never hear again: the spectral wail of a bird long presumed extinct. The rediscovery of the Bermuda petrel, or Cahow as it's known locally, was more than a conservation milestone. It was a resurrection.
And they do vary in temperature quite a bit.
Once numbering in the hundreds of thousands, these nocturnal seabirds dominated Bermuda's skies until the early 16th century, when settlers introduced rats, cats, and hogs that devastated nesting colonies. By the 1620s, they were thought to be gone forever, their burrows silent and skies empty. Yet against all odds, 18 nesting pairs were found clinging to life in the rocky crags of Nonsuch Island by American ornithologist Robert Cushman Murphy and a young Bermudian named David Wingate. That moment would define Wingate's life. Over the decades, he spearheaded one of the world's longest-running seabird restoration projects, clearing invasive species, constructing artificial burrows, and carefully managing breeding sites.
They move over 100 chicks to this new home, and biologist Medeiros takes over parenting.
Thanks to those tireless efforts, the Cahow population has slowly climbed, with more than 150 nesting pairs recorded in 2025. Unlike species hidden in ocean trenches or dense jungles, the Cahow survived in plain sight, clinging to wave-battered cliffs and navigating thousands of miles across the Atlantic to return to its birthplace with uncanny precision. Its ghostly calls, once a memory, now echo once again over Bermuda's moonlit waters. A song of resilience and revival. As the Bermuda petrel's chilling cries fade into the salt-sprayed winds, the next animal barrels forward, bristling, athletic, and back from the brink, ready to rattle the forests of South America. Number 10. Chicoan Pecker. Declared extinct before it was ever seen alive, the Chicoan Pecker was known solely from ancient fossil remains, until it suddenly came snorting back into the world in a moment that blindsided science. In 1975, deep within South America's unforgiving Gran Chaco, one of the continent's most inhospitable wildernesses, zoologists stumbled upon a living herd of the very animal they had long believed was nothing more than a Pleistocene ghost. Thick-bodied and bristle-haired, these pig-like creatures barreled through thorn-choked scrublands in tight social groups, earning the nickname pigs from Green Hell. Before their shocking rediscovery, the Chicoan Pecker's existence was confined to fossil records and textbook illustrations, an extinct cousin of modern peccaries, thought to have perished millennia ago. But nature had other plans. Hidden among the dense, cactus-strewn thickets of Paraguay, Bolivia, and northern Argentina, they had survived in silence, masters of camouflage in a landscape too brutal for most human intrusion. This living fossil turned out to be more than just a relic.
Nowhere else in the world, I think, has quite the diversity of woodpeckers, and it's not the first birds you think of in a habitat like the Chaco.
Chicoan peccaries are relatively small mammals, with an average size of 41 inches in length and weighing between 66 and 88 pounds. They are about the size of a medium to large dog. They have specialized three-toed hind feet adapted for harsh terrain and a crucial ecological role in seed dispersal. The Chicoan Pecker proved to be a keystone species, silently sustaining its ecosystem. Yet, despite its resilience, it now faces a new wave of threats, like rampant deforestation, agricultural expansion, and habitat fragmentation, placing its fragile populations under siege. Conservationists are racing to preserve what's left of its range, knowing that the peccary's reemergence isn't just a biological fluke, it's a rare second chance to protect a lineage thought lost to time. As the peccary's rustling charge fades into the scrub, the next animal drifts silently onto the scene, scaled, elusive, and ready to strike with a vengeance born of volcanic stone and whispered legend. Number 9. Clarion Night Snake.
After nearly 80 years lost, the Clarion night snake, an 18-inch nocturnal snake species, has been rediscovered.
For nearly 80 years, the Clarion night snake was considered extinct, with its existence reduced to a single specimen collected in 1936 and archived in a dusty museum drawer. No sightings, no tracks, no evidence of life. Scientists assumed this elusive reptile had vanished forever, swallowed by the isolation of Mexico's remote Clarion Island. But in 2013, that narrative shattered when a team of researchers, armed with patience and precision, proved the snake had never left. It had simply become a master of invisibility. Perched over 700 kilometers off Mexico's Pacific coast, Clarion Island is a harsh volcanic outpost in the Revillagigedo archipelago. Its jagged terrain and extreme isolation created a perfect hiding place for a snake that moves silently under the cover of night. With charcoal blotches across sand-colored skin, the Clarion night snake blends seamlessly into the basalt rock, slipping through crevices unnoticed. After decades of failed searches, herpetologist Daniel Mulcahy of the Smithsonian Institution led an expedition mirroring the exact conditions of the original 1936 collection, down to the tides, seasons, and time of day, and uncovered several live specimens. The Clarion night snake typically grows to be around 18 inches in length. It is a nocturnal snake with a brownish coloration and dark spots on its neck and back. These spots help the snake camouflage within its black lava rock habitat near Sulphur Bay on Clarion Island. Unlike dazzling rediscoveries that explode onto the scene, this one slithered in quietly. The population is small but stable, surviving through stealth, adaptation, and sheer environmental luck. However, the looming threat of invasive predators and shifting climates casts a shadow over this serpent's continued survival. The Clarion night snake didn't disappear. It simply waited for someone patient enough to notice. Number 8. Takahi. Declared extinct for 50 years, the Takahi's stunning return wasn't the work of chance. It was the result of one of the boldest rediscovery efforts in conservation history. This flightless bird, with its striking cobalt plumage and ruby-red beak, had vanished from New Zealand's South Island by the late 19th century.
Well, with the Takahi, they've got this beautiful plumage, nice violet-green colour. Pukeko a lot darker, a browny sort of.
A casualty of invasive predators and human settlement. By 1898, the scientific consensus was grim. The Takahi was gone forever. Yet in 1948, a determined physician named Jeffrey Orbell challenged that belief. Spurred by persistent Maori accounts, he trekked deep into the mist-draped Murchison Mountains, and there, amid the alpine tussock, stood the impossible. A group of living Takahis, bold and unmistakable, strutting as if extinction had never touched them.
The release of the Takahi today is sort of our first step, so our next tipuna and children can see the fruits of our labour.
Unlike oceanic coelacanths or jungle-dwelling peccaries, the Takahi had found refuge in near-vertical terrain. Its survival owed not to elusiveness, but mere isolation. Tough, stout, and resilient, it had endured silently in the cold shadows of Fiordland's alpine valleys, feeding on snowgrasses and outlasting generations of human ignorance. Following its rediscovery, conservationists sprang into action, mounting extensive predator control programs, translocating breeding pairs to predator-free islands, and launching one of the most ambitious captive breeding projects in the Southern Hemisphere. In 2025, the Takahi population had grown to over 400, a fragile but extraordinary recovery for a species once written off as lost.
40 Takahi, that's 1/10 of the population of the entire world.
But the journey isn't over. With habitat degradation and climate change threatening its alpine sanctuary, the Takahi remains critically endangered. As the Takahi disappears into the highland fog, the next creature scurries from the shadows, an ancient rodent with teeth like a time capsule and a story straight out of evolutionary legend. Number 7. Laotian Rock Rat. The discovery of the Laotian rock rat wasn't just another lost species found. It was an ancient mammal's triumphant return from the depths of time. Once thought to have been extinct for over 11 million years, this strange creature was resurrected in 2005, shattering the assumption that Southeast Asia's rugged landscapes held no remnants of prehistory. The Laotian rock rat was known only from Miocene fossils and was presumed to have vanished alongside the megafauna of its time, leaving behind only ancient bones and a forgotten lineage in the evolutionary record. Then, in a market near the Mekong River, a local caught sight of a curious rodent, its bulbous nose, long whiskers, and thick tail unmistakable. Genetic analysis confirmed the astonishing truth. The rat was the last living member of Diatomiidae, an ancient mammal family that diverged long before modern rodents even emerged. This living fossil, reminiscent of the Coelacanth's rediscovery, defied expectations of extinction and became one of the most enigmatic creatures of modern science. Unlike the vibrant Takahi or the elusive peccary, the Laotian rock rat's survival depended on its slow-moving, docile nature and preference for the high limestone cliffs of Laos Camoana province. There, it remains hidden from most human eyes, its nocturnal habits perfectly suited to the dark, remote caverns of its karst habitat. Despite its quiet resurgence, however, the rat's fragile population faces threats from habitat disturbance and expanding agriculture. Conservationists are working tirelessly to ensure this evolutionary relic doesn't fade into history once more. Number 6. Blackfooted Ferret. A mere 18 individuals, once the last of their kind, were all it took to ignite one of the most extraordinary conservation successes in modern history. The black-footed ferret, a nocturnal predator of the Great Plains, was thought to be lost forever after habitat destruction and disease wiped out its prey.
One of the first on the endangered list, the black-footed ferret, North America's rarest animal.
By 1979, scientists were sure it had vanished, relegated to history's dusty pages. But in 1981, a rancher's dog near Meeteetse, Wyoming, uncovered a living ferret in a prairie dog town, sparking a miraculous rediscovery. Unlike other elusive species hidden in inaccessible caves or distant jungles, the ferret's survival was tied to a single, isolated pocket of grassland. Its comeback began with a conservation effort that defied the odds. This saw a meticulous captive breeding program and ambitious reintroduction initiatives across 8 U.S. states and Canada. Today, thanks to years of perseverance, over 1,000 ferrets now roam the wild, a striking testament to what concerted action and a bit of good fortune can achieve. Black-footed ferrets are typically around 18 to 24 inches long. They weigh between 1.5 and 2.5 pounds. Males are generally larger than females. However, the ferret's survival remains tenuous.
They're black-footed ferrets, and whether they thrive will go a long way in determining whether their species will survive.
Disease outbreaks and ongoing habitat fragmentation continue to threaten its fragile populations, and biologists are working tirelessly to ensure genetic diversity and restore prairie ecosystems to sustain the species long-term. This small masked predator, once thought lost to the annals of time, now symbolizes the power of hope and resilience, quietly prowling through the very land that almost claimed its life. As the black-footed ferret slinks into the moonlit grasses, another legend gallops across the ancient plains of Iran, a creature with hooves that echo through history's corridors, promising a tale of untold bravery and survival. Number 5. The Caspian Horse. The return of the Caspian horse from the brink of extinction is proof of history's ability to resurrect the past. A creature once thought lost to time, this elegant petite breed has galloped its way back into the world's consciousness, proving that even ancient species have a place in the modern landscape. With its sleek chestnut coat and refined frame, the Caspian horse's elegance is immortalized in the 3,000-year-old reliefs of Persepolis, where it once stood alongside Persian warriors as a symbol of royalty. By the early 20th century, however, it was believed to have disappeared, replaced by larger, more dominant breeds and consigned to history. Then, in 1965, American researcher Louise Ferruz set out on a mission to unearth the remnants of this royal steed.
An ancient breed once thought to be extinct, until one woman rediscovered them in 1965.
Her search in the Caspian Sea region of northern Iran led her to a small herd near Amol, grazing peacefully as though untouched by the centuries. The horse's delicate proportions were unmistakable, their physical traits directly aligning with ancient depictions. Through genetic analysis, scientists confirmed that these were no ordinary ponies, but rather the true descendants of the revered Caspian horse, a breed distinct from modern horses. They typically stand between 10 and 12.2 hands tall, that is, 40 to 49 inches. While they are smaller than most horse breeds, they are considered horses, not ponies, due to their conformation, gaits, and temperament. This rediscovery sparked breeding programs that have successfully sustained the Caspian horse population, with over 2,000 individuals registered in 2025. Still, its future remains precarious, as habitat loss and inbreeding pose significant threats. Conservation efforts now focus on ensuring this ancient breed's survival, safeguarding its connection to Persia's rich cultural legacy. As the Caspian horse fades from view, charging across sunlit plains, the next animal's secretive prowl through Hispaniola's shadowy forests promises a venomous enigma that will leave you shivering with intrigue. Number 4. Hispanolan Solenodon. At first glance, this rat doesn't look very impressive. A creature with a lineage that predates the dinosaurs, the Hispanolan Solenodon is a living fossil that defies extinction with every furtive step. Once believed to have vanished, this nocturnal mammal's remarkable survival was rediscovered in 1981, astonishing the world. Resembling a long-tailed rat with a venomous bite, the Solenodon's toxic saliva, delivered through its grooved teeth, allows it to subdue small prey-like insects and reptiles with lethal precision. For much of the 20th century, this rare species was thought to have been eradicated by human activities, deforestation, the introduction of invasive mongooses, and feral dogs led to its presumed extinction across the forests of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. The Solenodon's miraculous reappearance in the rugged Cordillera Central of Hispaniola was nothing short of extraordinary. A Dominican zoologist, following local accounts of strange sightings, uncovered a small population of these elusive creatures, their unmistakable gait and musky scent confirming that they had survived in the wild. The Solenodon's survival hinged on its ability to remain hidden in limestone caves and thick underbrush, areas largely inaccessible to humans and predators. While sightings in Haiti and Cuba have since revealed scattered populations, the species remains critically endangered, with fewer than 1,000 individuals estimated to exist in 2025. Ongoing conservation efforts, including habitat restoration and predator control, are essential to preserving this ancient mammal. Despite its venomous defenses, the Solenodon's future is fragile, threatened by continued habitat loss and predation. Yet, its very survival is a testament to the wild's ability to shelter strange and forgotten creatures, hiding them from the eyes of humanity for millennia. Speaking of survival, as the Hispanolan Solenodon slinks into the shadows of its island refuge, another survivor, shimmering with vibrant colors, prepares to leap from the depths of New Caledonia's forests, offering a dazzling spectacle that will leave you in awe. Number 3. New Caledonian Crested Gecko. The rediscovery of the New Caledonian crested gecko is a striking reminder that the world's most elusive creatures often lie hidden in plain sight, waiting to defy the odds of extinction. This stunning reptile, with its emerald and crimson scales, once vanished from the scientific narrative, believed to be a casualty of the rapid deforestation and mining that scarred its Pacific Island home. For over a century, the gecko existed only in museum specimens collected in 1866, its name fading into the shadows of extinction. Then, in 1994, herpetologist Robert Sipe ventured to the dense rainforests of Pine Island in New Caledonia, a place where the human footprint had barely touched the canopy. There, he stumbled upon a living population, thriving and darting through the forest, their sticky toes gripping branches with remarkable agility. This rediscovery, so unexpected, breathed life into the belief that even the most delicate species could survive in the wild against all odds. Unlike other creatures that depend on elusive habitats or remote corners of the earth, the crested gecko's survival hinged on its ability to vanish into the thick foliage, out of human reach. With its docile nature and striking appearance, the crested gecko quickly became a beloved figure in the pet trade, sparking a global surge in demand. But wild populations face significant threats, including the spread of invasive fire ants and continued habitat loss. Conservation efforts are now focused on safeguarding New Caledonia's rainforests, ensuring this charismatic lizard thrives beyond the confines of captivity. The gecko's emotional return to the world, glowing amidst New Caledonia's dense jungles, is evidence of nature's ability to protect its most dazzling creatures in hidden corners, waiting to be discovered by the keenest of explorers. Number 2. Javan Rhino. This rhino right here is one of the world's rarest and most elusive creatures. The Javan Rhino attests to nature's incredible resilience. A colossal armored beast, it has managed to persist against the odds in the dense jungles of Java, with its single horn cutting through the mist like a silent guardian of the forest. Once abundant across Southeast Asia, the Javan rhino's numbers dwindled dramatically by the mid-20th century, as it was pushed to the brink by poaching, agricultural expansion, and warfare. By the 1960s, it was thought to have disappeared from scientific records, with conservationists fearing the worst. The idea that any rhino could survive the slaughter seemed impossible. Then, in 1967, a discovery stunned the world. Camera traps and fresh tracks revealed the existence of a small, hidden population in the swamps of Ujung Kulon National Park, Java's westernmost tip. Fewer than 30 individuals were clinging to life in this isolated refuge, their presence a miracle of survival in an otherwise desolate landscape. Unlike other species that managed to escape through adaptability or sheer luck, the Javan rhino's survival was tied to its solitary nature and its ability to evade poachers in the dense, nearly impenetrable jungle. Since then, intensive conservation efforts, including anti-poaching patrols and habitat restoration, have allowed the population to grow, reaching approximately 75 individuals in 2025. Yet the species remains critically endangered, confined to a single park, and its future hangs in the balance. The Javan rhino's rediscovery underscores the power of focused conservation and serves as a reminder that nature, though fragile, can still fight back against human devastation. With each step through the jungle, this ancient creature carries not just its survival, but a message about the urgency of preserving the wild. Number 1. Lord Howe Island Stick Insect. The breathtaking rediscovery of a species thought extinct for nearly a century on a sheer volcanic spike in the middle of the ocean remains one of the most astonishing wildlife comebacks ever recorded. Once believed lost forever to the ravages of invasive rats, the Lord Howe Island stick insect, nicknamed the tree lobster for its thick, glossy black frame and hefty size, was written off by scientists after vanishing in the 1920s. Native to Lord Howe Island's lush forests, this nocturnal insect the size of a cigar once clambered among the undergrowth in peaceful obscurity. That peace was shattered by shipwrecked rats that decimated the population within a few years. For decades, the tree lobster was reduced to a footnote in entomology, its legacy confined to dusty museum drawers. Then, in 2001, a team of Australian researchers dared to scale the vertical cliffs of Ball's Pyramid, an uninhabitable volcanic outcrop 23 kilometers from Lord Howe, and stumbled upon a jaw-dropping secret: 24 living individuals clinging to a single tea tree bush on a narrow ledge, surviving in utter isolation. This insect's escape from extinction didn't rely on camouflage or migration. It depended entirely on geographic exile. Hidden on a windswept spire surrounded by churning sea, the tree lobster endured, outlasting every expectation. Conservationists quickly launched a breeding program at Melbourne Zoo, and today, thousands of descendants thrive in captivity, awaiting the completion of rat eradication efforts before they can return to their ancestral home. The Lord Howe Island stick insect story, born of ecological ruin and reclaimed through persistence, reminds us that even the unlikeliest creatures can cling to life in the most hostile corners of the planet. As the tree lobster clings to its rocky refuge, other survivors stir in Earth's remotest wilds, each hiding stories that defy belief and demand discovery. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.